What happens if you interrupt this continuous succession of divine acts as you use your human will? Let's say in the last breath you took, you muttered an unkind word against your neighbor. That moment fails to be divine, so it cannot divinize human acts. Also, Jesus says to you, I can't do that act in you because I am a holy God, but I won't leave you. Instead, I will suffer another blow to my face in you to compensate the Father for your sin of murmuring. For that moment, the Father still receives the glory he deserves, but it is at the expense of Jesus. If you develop a constant awareness of this, you will be careful not to lose even one moment to your human will. Jesus knows we will fail over and over again, and at times he will suffer a continuation of his passion in all of us. But he won't leave us. The road to perfection is long, but it is not impossible with God doing the work. Remember, even if you fail at times, you still have the gift of the divine will, unless you no longer want it. Of course, if you refuse to give up some sin, you are telling God you would rather do your own will and not His will. So you really don't want the gift of living in the divine will. If you do want the gift, act like you want it, understanding how important every act is in God's plan. Where are you when Jesus is breathing in your breath? You are right there doing the activity with Him. This is where we go back to Jesus' advice to go about your day, saying, It is Jesus who wants to go to the store, and I am together with him, and on and on. This will help you make the shift in your understanding. You will disappear in Jesus as you develop an awareness of watching and feeling Jesus during the day while He uses your hands, walks in your steps, breathes in your breath. Doing your acts is really practicing this awareness throughout the day so you don't drift back into your own will and get caught up in your own activity, forgetting you have given Jesus your life. Doing your acts is being attentive to Jesus, acting in and with you. You may never feel Jesus flow in my ears, in my eyes, in my mouth, in everything, as Louisa did, but that doesn't mean you are doing something wrong. In fact, there is greater merit when you do something for God without the consolation of a supernatural experience. You are doing your acts in faith. And don't worry about what Jesus will do with your acts behind the veil in the heavenly realm. Jesus told Louisa to give him absolute dominion in all her acts without wanting to know what he does with them. Now you are beginning to live the unity with God that the saints enjoy in heaven, and more importantly, God is receiving the benefit of His creation. He can begin to enjoy a garden of paradise in you, even if it is interrupted on occasion by acts in your own human will. You are slowly but surely returning to the order, place, and purpose for which you were created. The mysterious boundary between heaven and earth is disappearing in you. Rounds are a continuation of Jesus' prayers. These can be best understood if you look at the big picture. Adam's sin started a chain reaction of acts not done in the divine will and of sin. Even something as innocent as a heartbeat was no longer pleasing to God because it would now be done with the human will. This chain reaction resulted in billions of souls not glorifying the Father in their every act, and worse still, insulting God with their sins. The rest of innocent creation suffered also. Creation could not fully glorify the Father without their priests. Man was to act as the priest, recognizing the love in every creature and offering it back to the Father for his glory in a divine manner. God's justice requires that the Father receive the glory he deserves from all his creatures and that he be justly compensated for the injustices of sin. Jesus' life started a new chain reaction to accomplish this justice. His life in us is a continuation of this chain. When the Father receives all compensation and every bit of glory he should have received, then the work of redemption and sanctification will be done. The chain reaction of Adam's sin will be reversed. Look around you. There are literally millions of rounds to be done. Do you see the birds flying? The love God placed in them needs to be recognized and offered back to the Father for His glory. And because Jesus is praying in your prayers with the gift of the divine will, this offering is multiplied over all souls, past, present, and future, as if they all had glorified the Father by returning the love in the birds. Your backyard has enough rounds to fill a book. The rounds of innocent creation are easy. Here is the most difficult round. Two people are walking past your backyard. These two people represent potential paradises for God that need to be recovered. What does this mean? There is a good chance they are not fully invested in the divine will. So justice requires the Father be compensated and glorified as he should have been by them. The question is, where do you start? Each person represents billions of acts done in the human will and maybe thousands of sins. All the work that God did in Louisa, all the work God is doing to purify you, needs to be done in these two souls. God should be able to enjoy walking in their walking in the paradise of their souls. Instead, Jesus is suffering the agony in the garden in each. Here is the incredible part. With the gift of the divine will, your rounds are Jesus' rounds. As he speaks in your voice, his word is creative. He can reverse the ravages of sin and create a paradise in the two souls. He can take out gossip, pride, darkness and put in love, humility, light, and all the other divine qualities. The angels are at his command, and you are in unity with him as he prays. And because it is a divine prayer, when it is said for these two souls, it is multiplied over all souls, past, present, and future. Of course, each soul has the free will to respond to the grace or light carried to them by the angels. They can still choose to gossip and be prideful, and reject the grace to love and be humble. But some will respond and be that much closer to becoming a paradise for God. Think of everything that needs to be done in you to make a paradise for God, and you have some idea of what needs to be done in all souls. Each soul needs to be ground in the grinder. The rounds are needed to take the world, devil, and flesh out of every soul. The least sin will not be tolerated. Even human virtues fall short. God made us God made us to share in his divine qualities, his divine life, his divinity. At the same time, the Father requires holiness. He also wants to be surrounded by the things of his kingdom in every soul. The rounds have the divine power to bring to light in every soul God's throne, his choir of angels, all of heaven, the acts of Jesus' life and passion, the divine acts of the Blessed Mother, the works of the saints, the love of the animals, the acts of all souls brought into the divine will, and all his creation. For the good souls who do respond to the rounds done by those living in the divine will, the work begun in them here on earth may be continued in the three levels of purgatory, but God will have the benefits of his creation in everyone. He will have what he has in his saints, either in souls while they are on earth, or eventually in heaven. Some of the souls who respond to grace may even receive the gift of the divine will while on earth. Louisa once prayed that all souls born on a certain day receive the gift of the divine will. Because of this round, every baby born on that day was given the opportunity at some point during its lifetime to accept the gift of living in the divine will. Most certainly, some responded and became part of the hidden army, quietly doing acts and rounds to accomplish God's plan. For the souls who are lost because they do not respond to grace and choose hell, in some mysterious way, God receives the glory he deserves from these souls. All the acts created by the Father, acts that the lost souls should have possessed with the gift, but instead left suspended, have been taken in rounds by Jesus, the Blessed Mother, and Louisa, and given to the Father for his glory. These rounds continue in those living in the divine will. Why should we continually repeat the rounds of creation, the Passion, and others? Isn't it enough to say them once, if they multiply over all souls and all ages? Well, would you tell your parents once, I love you, and never repeat these words to them again? In the same way, the Father deserves our continuous love.